afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Subcommittee on Border Security and Enforcement, Subcommittee on Counterterrorism, Law Enforcement, and Intelligence joint hearing entitled The Real Cost of an Open Border, How Americans Are Paying the Price. Today's hearing will examine how the Biden administration's open border policies have caused incalculable human cost, not just to American citizens, but also to those driven to make the treacherous journey to our southwest border. Thank you to our witnesses for being here today. The stories they will share will be harrowing, but it's important that the American people hear the true cost of this administration's failure to secure our sovereign border. From the impact on our frontline law enforcement officers to the increase in illegal alien crime and record deaths from fentanyl poisoning to the growing number of migrant deaths along our borders, the Biden-Mayorkas border crisis has had a devastating impact, which is worsening daily. Open border policies have wreaked havoc on American communities, taxed law enforcement resources and morale, emboldened human and drug smuggling operations, and directly resulted in a record number of alien deaths along our southern border region. And no community has been hit harder than those within the border regions. Devastation to private property, particularly ranches, represents a daily challenge to those living in border communities. One of our witnesses here today, Mr. J.R. Ramirez, who manages 2 commercial cow-calf operations, is bearing a financial burden that threatens his ability to operate a profitable business that both feeds our nation and protects essential habitats and wild spaces. An inexcusable financial burden is placed upon the many men and women who operate businesses and have homes along the southern border simply for trying to live and work. As these migrants force their way into the country with no regard for the destruction they're causing in many cases to property along the way and the lives that they impact. The cost of the border crisis extends to the men and women of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. As the administration's open border policies enable cartels, the price is paid by those doing their jobs. Customs and Border Protection morale is at an all-time low, and state and local resources have been unable to keep up with the flood of human beings and drugs crossing our border. That flood of humans across the border includes the massive influx of human trafficking and human smuggling being reported recently. We rightly commit law enforcement resources to combat this scourge nationwide. However, open border policies should not exist, and our border policy should be in tune with the goal towards law enforcement. We should not worsen the problems and make it impossible for others to deal with as the years unfold. Just last year, Customs and Border Protection officials found the bodies of at least 848 aliens along the southwest border. And according to the UN's International Organization for Migration, the southwest border is, quote unquote, the deadliest land crossing in the world. This administration has touted that their border policies are safe, orderly, and humane. But anyone who's been down to the border can attest that there's nothing safe and orderly or humane about that situation. Safe, orderly, and humane policies would not allow a record number of illegals into our country and drugs trafficked into our nation. It would not encourage migration across the deadliest land crossing in the world and leave our law enforcement and border communities to deal with the crisis on their own.